All right, so we're diving into Shatter Me today. Tahereh Mafi, right? This dystopian YA novel. Kind of a bleak future, huh? Where, like, everything's gone wrong.
Yeah, the environment's a mess, disease, decay, you name it.
And to top it all off, you've got this totalitarian regime calling the shots. The Reestablishment.
Control freaks, basically. They control everything.
And then there's Juliette, our main character, 17 years old.
With a bit of a problem, you could say.
Yeah, a lethal touch. Literally.
So the book starts with her locked up, imprisoned by the Reestablishment, of course.
Makes sense, right? They see her as a weapon.
Oh, absolutely. A weapon they want to control. She's been completely isolated, by the way, for like over 200 days.
264 to be exact.
Right. Hasn't touched a soul. Haunted by this horrible accident, all because of her power.
So we're painting a pretty grim picture here. A totalitarian regime, a girl with a deadly touch. Where does this power even come from? Is it like a disease or something supernatural?
Well, that's part of the mystery. The book never really explains it.
Adds to the intrigue, huh?
Definitely. We know it started after something traumatic happened when she was a kid, and it seems connected to her emotions.
Like the more upset she gets.
The more dangerous her touch becomes. Exactly.
So how does Mafi, the author, show all this? Juliette's inner turmoil, I mean.
Oh, she's got this unique writing style. Uses all sorts of literary devices, like strike-throughs.
Strike-throughs.
Yeah, to show Juliette's self-doubt, like she's trying to suppress her thoughts and feelings.
Interesting.
Then there are these fragmented sentences, repetition too, to show how broken she is inside.
It's like we're right there in her head, experiencing her trauma.
That's the point. But then, a glimmer of hope. Adam Kent enters the picture.
Who's he?
A soldier from Juliette's past, ends up as her cellmate.
Oh, wow.
And his presence, it's like a breath of fresh air for her.
I bet, after all that isolation.
Yeah. He brings back some sense of familiarity, comfort, that human connection she's been craving.
So he's potential escape from all this. Can she trust him, though?
That's the question, isn't it? Their relationship, it's complicated.
How so?
Adam's drawn to Juliette, but he's also scared of her. Understandably, right?
Yeah, her touch can kill.
But he still feels for her. He sees her pain.
Attraction and fear all mixed up. Classic. How does Juliette react to him?
Cautious at first. She's been hurt before.
Makes sense.
You gotta remember that accident. It weighs heavily on her.
Right.
But Adam, he's persistent. And he genuinely cares. So slowly, she starts to let her guard down.
It's like she's starting to believe she's not a monster.
Yeah. Maybe there's a chance for her after all. And yes, romantic feelings definitely develop.
Ah, young love.
Adam becomes her first love. Their bond is strong. They understand each other's pain, but there's a problem. A big one.
Warner.
Warner.
The commander of Sector 45.
The one and only. Ruthless, obsessed with power.
Right. He was mentioned briefly at the beginning.
Well, he's back. And he's got his sights set on Juliette.
Uh-oh.
He sees her power as a tool. A weapon to be used.
But he's also attracted to her.
Oh, yeah. It's a dangerous combination. He's constantly pushing her buttons, testing her limits.
Juliette's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Adam on one side, Warner on the other. What happens next?
Well, Warner decides to move Juliette to a new location. Under his direct supervision, of course.
No, it can't be good.
Definitely ramps up the tension. Puts Juliette in an even more vulnerable position.
So we're left with Juliette trapped.
Yeah.
Caught between two powerful men with very different intentions. Things are about to get even more complicated, I'm sure. Okay, so Juliette's basically Warner's prisoner now, right? Stuck under his thumb. What's his game plan?
Well, that's the thing. He plays his cards close to his chest. Keeps everyone guessing.
Typical villain move. So what does he actually do with Juliette?
First, he isolates her even more. Keeps her in this fancy cell, but it's still a cell. In his own house, no less.
Talk about creepy. And he runs all these tests on her, right?
Exactly. Trying to figure out what she can really do.
Yeah.
The extent of her powers.
So he's intrigued, but he also wants control. Does Juliette just take it lying down?
You know Juliette. She's got a fire in her, so yeah, there's resistance. She refuses to be his puppet.
Good for her.
Yeah.
But that probably just fuels his obsession.
Probably makes it worse, if anything.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
So it's this power struggle. But is there anyone on Juliette's side in all of this? Anyone she can even talk to?
Well, there's Kenji. He's assigned to guard her.
Another soldier. I'm sensing a pattern here.
Yeah, but Kenji's different. Kind of a smart aleck, always cracking jokes.
Oh, so comic relief in this whole mess.
Exactly. But he's also sharp. And he actually cares about Juliette.
Sounds like a good friend to have in this situation. Does he know about her powers?
He does. But unlike everyone else, he isn't afraid.
Wow. Brave guy.
More than brave. He sees her power as part of her, not some awful curse. Actually encourages her to embrace it.
So he gives her a new perspective. Does that change how she sees herself?
Big time. His acceptance means a lot to her. Helps her start seeing her touch as a gift, not just something that destroys.
A turning point for Juliette. Does this new mindset lead to anything? Any action?
It does. Juliette, Adam, and Kenji, they make a run for it.
No way. They escape Warner.
Yep. It's a pretty intense escape, let me tell you. Full of close calls. And they get help from some unexpected allies.
Allies? Who are they?
Rebels. They've been watching Juliette, waiting for the right moment.
So there's an organized resistance against the Reestablishment? This just got even more interesting.
Oh, yeah. These rebels, they're all about freedom, individuality, stuff the Reestablishment wants to crush.
Makes sense they'd be interested in Juliette. What's their endgame?
Taking down the Reestablishment, obviously. Creating a better world where people are free. And they believe Juliette is the key.
Wow, she's caught up in something huge. Where do these rebels take her?
To Omega Point, it's their hideout. A safe haven for people like Juliette.
People like her. What does that even mean?
People with powers, special abilities, and at Omega Point, those abilities are seen as a good thing, not something to be feared or locked away.
Wow, finally a place where Juliette can be herself. What kind of powers are we talking about here?
All sorts. Telekinesis, mind control, enhanced senses, you name it. And they're all learning to control their powers, to fight back against the Reestablishment.
That's incredible. So how does Juliette adjust to Omega Point? This has got to be a huge change for her.
It's a lot to take in at first. After all that time alone, afraid of her own touch, being around people who embrace their differences, it's overwhelming.
Right.
But she comes around.
She finds her people.
Exactly. She connects with the others, especially with a woman named Castle. She can heal people with her touch.
That's amazing. So Castle becomes kind of a mentor.
Definitely. Helps Juliette find her footing in this new world.
It's like she's finally starting to build a life for herself. But what about Adam and Warner? Still in the picture.
Oh, they haven't disappeared. Adam's at Omega Point too, but their relationship is a bit rocky.
Yeah, I bet. After everything they've been through.
Adam's still struggling to come to terms with Juliette's power. And as for Warner, well, let's just say his obsession isn't going away anytime soon. He's still searching for her.
Determined to get her back. This love triangle is not going away, is it?
Not a chance. So at Omega Point, Juliette starts training, really learning to control her powers. And she discovers she can do more than just hurt people.
Really? Like what?
She can heal, enhance other people's abilities. It's pretty remarkable.
Juliette's becoming a powerhouse. Does this change how the rebels see her?
They recognize her potential as a leader, someone who can inspire others, help them win this fight.
That's a lot of pressure.
Oh, yeah. Juliette's not sure if she's ready for that kind of responsibility.
I can imagine. So she's stuck between wanting a normal life and realizing she's destined for something more. What happens next?
Well, things take a turn for the worse. Warner attacks Omega Point.
He finds them.
He does, and it's brutal. He wants Juliette, and he'll stop at nothing to get her.
I bet this is a huge turning point for Juliette.
Absolutely. She's terrified, of course, but she's also angry. Warner has taken everything from her, and she's not going to let him get away with it.
She's finally ready to fight back.
With everything she's got.
Juliette's come a long way. From a scared girl hiding in the shadows to a powerful young woman ready to face her enemy. This is it, the final showdown. Last we left off, things were pretty intense. Warner attacking Omega Point, Juliette ready to unleash her full power. Did she manage to stop him?
Oh, yeah. She let him have it. All that pent-up anger, all that desire to protect her friends, it just exploded. And that's when she realizes something.
What's that?
That her touch, it's not just about destruction, it's energy. Raw power. She can manipulate it. Even enhance other people's abilities with it.
So it's evolving. Her understanding of her own powers, I mean. What happened with Warner? Did she defeat him?
She did. Took him down. But it's a victory that comes at a price.
What do you mean?
Omega Point is in ruins. A lot of her friends, they didn't make it.
Yeah.
And Adam, he left with his brother James. He's a high-ranking official in the Reestablishment.
Oh, wow. So she's lost so much. What happens to Juliette after all this?
Well, she's heartbroken, obviously, and lost. Warner's defeated, but she still feels this weird connection to him, sees a side of him that nobody else does. A vulnerability, maybe. But then there's Kenji.
Kenji survive?
He did. And he reminds Juliette what's important, the fight for freedom, the fight against the Reestablishment.
So she's got a choice to make. Warner, her past, or the future, the rebellion. What does she do?
Juliette chooses to fight, to lead, to use her powers for good.
It's like she's finally embracing who she is.
Exactly. She realizes that her touch, it terrifies people, yeah, but it can also be a symbol of hope, a symbol of change.
So what does she do? Does she rebuild the rebellion?
She does.
Yeah.
Travels to different sectors, freeing people who are trapped under the Reestablishment's rule. She's like this spark that ignites a fire. People see her, see what she can do, and they're inspired. They want to join her, fight alongside her.
That's amazing. She's become a symbol of hope for people. What about Adam and Warner? Do they come back into the picture?
They do. Adam returns, realizes he made a mistake leaving Juliette. Their love is still there, but he hurt her, and he knows he needs to earn back her trust.
That makes sense. What about Warner?
Well, he pops up again, too. But he's not the same. His defeat, it changed him. He's starting to question everything he thought he knew, everything he believed in.
So everyone's changing, growing. Does the love triangle get resolved?
Not really. Juliette and Adam, they reconnect. Their bond's even stronger now. But Warner, it's unclear what happens to him. He's got the potential to be good, but he's done some pretty terrible things.
So it's a bit of a cliffhanger.
You could say that, Shatter Me. It leaves you with more questions than answers.
But overall, what's the book about? What are the main themes?
It's about finding yourself, your identity. It's about power, what you do with it. And it's about fighting for freedom, even when it seems impossible. Juliette's story, it shows you that your biggest fears, they can also be your greatest strengths. And that even in the darkest times, hope can survive.
Powerful stuff. Would you recommend this book to others?
Absolutely. It's a wild ride, keeps you on the edge of your seat. The characters are complex, the story's gripping, and it makes you think, makes you question things.
Well, that's Shatter Me in a nutshell. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, folks. Remember, like Juliette, we all have the power to change things, to fight for what we believe in. So go out there and make a difference.